Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma, and this is what I call my morning musings. We're looking at the eschatology of the parables of Jesus. In Luke chapter 18, Jesus says, "Will not God avenge the blood of his elect who cry out to him day and night? Verily I say to you, he will avenge them speedily." Now, what it's important to see is that all throughout the Old Testament, we find, as it were, the cry of the martyrs. We find the reality of martyrdom, the reality of persecution. And yet, we never find that pivotal, consummate vindication of their martyrdom. Perhaps we can talk about that at another time. But the point of fact is, what I've been sharing with you is that beginning in Genesis and all the way to Revelation, we find the promise that at the coming of the Lord, the blood of God's righteous martyrs would be vindicated. Now, we've already looked at Isaiah chapter 26. The reason I want to bring this up again is because Isaiah 26:21 talks about the vindication of the martyrs at the day of the Lord, at the time when Satan would be destroyed. But Isaiah chapter 27 verse 9, which is tied with all of this by the little term, "in that day," would also be the day of Israel's salvation and Israel's destruction. Now, I don't have the time to go fully into that, except I want you to notice that in Romans chapter 11, 25 to 27, Paul promised the salvation of Israel, the taking away of her sin, at the coming of the Lord, and he cites Isaiah 27, verse 9 and 10. Okay? What does that mean? Well, it means that in Isaiah 26 and 27, we have the vindication of the martyrs at the day of the Lord, the time of the destruction of Satan, i.e. the end of the millennium, and it is emphatically placed at the time of Israel's salvation, but it's also placed in that day of Israel's judgment. So that means that the salvation of Israel that Paul is anticipating in Romans chapter 11 would occur at the time of the vindication of the martyrs, at the coming of the Lord, the destruction of Satan, when Israel would be judged. Israel's judgment, Israel's salvation. Now watch this. In Isaiah 59. Now why do I go to Isaiah 59? Because in Romans 11, Paul quotes from Isaiah 59 as well. And this is agreed to by virtually all scholars. Well, what's the context of Isaiah 59? Isaiah 59, watch this. Verse 3. Your hands, he's speaking to old covenant Israel. Your hands are defiled with blood, your fingers with iniquity. Look at verse 6. The act of violence is in their hands. Verse 7. Their feet run to evil. They make haste to shed innocent blood. There's the accusation, a threefold accusation against Israel. Now watch. Here's the threefold accusation of Israel being guilty of shedding innocent blood. And so, what happened? Verse 15, the Lord saw it. Saw what? Israel's blood guilt. And it displeased him. He saw that there was no justice. He saw that there was no man and wondered that there was no intercessor. Therefore his arm brought salvation for him, and his own righteousness, it sustained him. He put on the righteousness as a breastplate, a helmet of salvation on his head. He put on the garments of vengeance for clothing. Notice how he couples salvation and judgment directly together. Now watch this. According to their deeds, accordingly he will repay, fury to his adversaries, recompense to his enemies, the coastlands he will fully repay. Now watch, verse 20. The Redeemer will come to Zion, and to those who turn from transgression in Jacob, says the Lord. As for me, says the Lord, this is my covenant with them. My spirit who is upon me, my words which I have put in my mouth shall not depart from my mouth. What's he saying? Paul's quoting directly from Isaiah 59, 20, and 21. In his prediction of the salvation of Israel at the coming of the Lord. But wait a minute. Isaiah 59 is the coming of the Lord for salvation, to be sure, but it's also the time of the coming of the Lord in judgment of Israel for shedding innocent blood. Folks, this is the solution to Romans 11, 25 to 27. Paul is anticipating the fulfillment of Isaiah 59 and Isaiah 26 and 27. But Isaiah 26 and Isaiah 27 are predictions of the coming of the Lord in judgment of Israel for shedding innocent blood at the time of the salvation of the righteous. You see, you can't dichotomize between the time of salvation and the time of judgment. They're synchronous events. But the thing to see here is that just like Jesus said in Luke chapter 18, as he stood there in the generation that would see the judgment of Israel for shedding all the righteous blood shed on the earth all the way back to creation, Jesus said that judgment would fall on Jerusalem in that generation. Paul in Romans 11 is living in that generation, and he's quoting from Isaiah 26 and 27, Isaiah 59, which predicted the salvation of Israel, but it would come at the time of the coming of the Lord in judgment of Israel for shedding innocent blood. That was no other time than AD 70. Pardon me. Listen, you really, really need to get my book, We Shall Meet Him in the Air, The Wedding of the King of Kings. I developed this extensively in this book. Do not forget, if you go to my website, eschatology.org or bibleprophecy.com, and you order the book and you mention that you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, I'll refund your shipping, and I will include a free CD of my presentation at Criswell College in Dallas, Texas, 2012, which was a discussion of the millennium and martyr vindication. This is great stuff. I think you can see why it's important for us to understand that the parabolic teaching of Jesus destroys all futurist eschatologies. And yes, indeed, we've got more. We'll see you on the flip side. God bless.